Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bearded Bonsai YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to show you how to air layer this red Japanese maple. For those of you that don't know what air layering is, it's simply a method of propagation. You just take one branch off a tree, wrap it with some moss and plastic, force it to grow roots, cut it off, plant it. Now you've got yourself another tree. That's a very oversimplified version of what air layering is, but stay tuned and we'll go way more in depth as we work on this tree. So to do an air layer, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need some sphagnum peat moss, a bowl, something similar to soak the moss in some water, some rooting hormone, a razor or some other sharp knife, a couple of wire ties, and some plastic. This is actually a plastic bag from an old bag of soil, so any kind of plastic will work. So this is the tree we're going to be working on today. This beautiful red Japanese maple. It's just an Acer palmatum atropurpureum, I believe is how you say that. But as you can see, it has this one branch right here that goes absolutely straight horizontal from the main trunk, like straight out of there. So we are going to air layer it back to improve the overall shape of this main tree and to give ourselves another second new tree. All right, guys, so hopefully you can see this branch here is the one that's coming. Here's the main trunk. And as you can see, it's coming absolutely horizontal. There's no curve, no bend, just super straight off the side. That kind of spoils the shape of the whole tree. And it's 2.5, 3 feet long straight off to the side. So that's why we want to take it off. So if you have some maples and you're not interested in air layering or propagating, feel free to just come in here and snip that thing off right about there. No worries. You don't want to cut it back like right here, right to the trunk, because on these Japanese maples, wherever you make your cut, it's going to naturally die back, typically to like that next node. So you'd want to cut it like here, and then just make sure that over time you could slowly take it back, but you don't want to cut it back all the way to the trunk at first. But for us, we are doing this to air layer. So you can see coming off the bottom here, there's just a little tiny set of leaves. Just going to cut those off so it's easier to work with. And we are going to do our air layer right about here. So what you want to do is remove the bark. They say about the same diameter as the branch. That's how wide the space is. You want to take the bark off. I'm going to go a little bit wider on this one just because you can see my fingers. This isn't a huge branch, so I'm going to go a little wider. And right here is a node, and here is another node. So I'm going to go kind of here to here, and I think that will give us a good chance for successful rooting. Now this blade's just a box cutter razor knife. I already disinfected this with alcohol. You're going to want to make sure you do that to your knife as well. So we're just going to make a cut like this. And we're going to go all the way around the branch. And you want to get through the bark and the cambium. Okay, so there's our mark right here. I'm going to make the other one right here. It's a little bit tricky. I'm trying not to block the camera, so it's really hard for me to get in here with my knife and get all the way around. I want you guys to be able to see this as I'm doing it. And then I'm going to make one cut straight to the other cut. So that should be it. See if we can just, there you go. As long as your cuts are connected, so this bark should peel right off of here relatively easily since we cut it. Come around to this side. There you go. You can see that. Should come off. You're going to want to do that all the way around. There's several different ways to do air layers like this. Some people will actually leave just a little strip of bark, like a bridge. But I like removing it all to kind of really force that tree to grow new roots. Piece on the bottom, I feel. There it is. Okay, there we go. So you can see we got the bark removed, and I'm just going to lightly scrape where we remove the bark here. And what that does is it just makes sure that that cambium layer is off of here. Because if you don't get that all off, the tree will just get, typically, it will callus up and you won't get a successful air layer. Because the cambium keeps feeding the tree. And so the whole theory about this is that the nutrients are coming up the trunk from the roots and then they're going out the branches, right? So anywhere you remove the bark and cambium, you are stopping the water nutrients from going from here to here. So if we just leave this like this from this point out, this will all just die. So the theory is you cut this off and then you wrap it in your moss and your plastic right here. You put a ball of it on there and the tree is obviously stressed. It's searching for water and nutrients, which come from the moss. So while that's wrapped around here to get it, the tree shoots out new roots. And then hopefully in 6 to 8 weeks, you've got a successful air layer. So that's the premise of it, the very unscientific way of how this is supposed to work. I don't know for a fact that anyone knows for sure, but that's the leading theory. And I have to agree, it kind of makes sense. So one thing to note is right here where we remove the bark, this is not where roots will come from. Above that, so right here, this area, this is where the new roots will grow from. Again, right here, this part where we remove the bark, nothing will come out of that. Above it, this area here, so all around here, this is where your roots are going to come from. So the next thing we're going to do is apply some rooting hormone. You don't have to, but I highly recommend it. It does seem like it makes more roots grow and it makes them grow more quickly. So the kind I have here, you can see it's just Hormex, hormone rooting powder. And this one is a little stronger. It's 0.8%. The date today, this is mid-July. So it's later in the season than I would like to do this. But I still think we have time to get it done, get it successful before fall. So we're going to give it a shot. So what I'm going to do here is just, I have a paintbrush and I just put plain water on this. And I'm just going to brush this area lightly with some water. And the only reason I'm doing that, you guys and girls, is because this rooting powder, since it is a powder, we need it to stick to that branch. So since the branch is wet, I'll just get a little powder on my brush here, you can see, and we're just gonna paint that on there, and you'll see it kind of obviously kind of turns it white. We're just gonna get a good coating on there. You don't have to overdo it. You arguably don't have to do it all. You can do air layers without the powder, but the powder does certainly help, and I want this to get the best chance it can get because I really want this to be successful. All right, so you can see there the white area where we put the powder. And again, just take notice where we put it. We put it above where we remove the bark, not right on where we remove the bark. All right, so the next step is to wrap this area in moss and plastic. So as you can see here, I actually switched out my plastic from the earlier part of the video. I'm using bubble wrap, and the reason being is the bubble wrap has those little tiny air pockets, which acts as an insulator. So it'll make this area hold more heat, which should make the roots come on faster. So this is a small one. I'm actually just going to rip this plastic in half. So you can see here, hopefully we just have our piece of plastic. And my moss I have soaking in a bowl of water. So you should be able to see it here. So this is too wet, okay? This stuff is just like a sponge. So what you want to do is just kind of wring it out. So it's still pretty wet, but not soaking wet. You definitely don't want it dry. And you probably want to use more moss than you think you should have to use. Now this is a smaller limb, so I won't have to use a ton. But I'm going to use a fair amount because, again, I really want this to take. Okay? So when you're doing this on your own, it's kind of tough to get this moss on the tree and get it to stick. Okay? So it can be a little tricky. So this is how we're going to do this one. We're just going to put the moss in the plastic, kind of make a little ball here. Hopefully you can see that. And then we're going to go under here. And again, remember, here's our powder. That's where roots are going to come from. Not here, but right here where our powder is. So we're just going to kind of work this in here. And hopefully right there you can see. I will put the moss like covering this area and up above it just so there's full coverage. But we're going to kind of push that on there. I'm going to take some more moss, put on this side. Get just a little more here. Bring that out just a bit. Get that on there. That, I'm thinking, looks pretty good. So now, we're going to wrap this up. And again, this is the tricky part. This is where it can get kind of tough. There's no great easy way to do this short of having someone help you. But I'm making a video to show you this. That's not the easiest thing. So then on the top and bottom, you're just going to use, the easiest way to do it, honestly, is just use a wire tie. This is actually just a twist tie that I have here. I can get it up in here. Come on there. Get this little leaf out of my way. So, okay, there we go. All right. So now, I'll get this on here. We're going to get this good and tight. You want this really, really tight. Popped a couple bubbles there, but that's okay. And you're going to want to leave these long. Don't trim them off because it'll just be harder to undo when the time comes. So you just kind of wrap them around here. Keep them hidden. All right, so that's that side. It's a little branch coming off right here. So now, gonna bring this over so that this is completely wrapped up here. That's looking pretty good. So I have my tie here. We're going to do the same exact thing on the top. I'm going to pull that tight. And I hope you guys can see this. If you can't, don't worry. We're finishing up here, so I will go around here again. Do a little double tie here because we want this thing to stay put. Little branch here. And again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get one more piece of wire and we'll go around it there and we'll be all set. So let me go get that. All right, so we got another piece here, and again, you can see this has kind of a flap going on here. I don't want that, so I'm just going to go around this again. That'll help it really stay secure on here, insulated pretty well with this plastic and this moss. And with any luck, we'll check on this in hopefully 6 to 8 weeks. We'll be able to see the roots filled out and I can cut it off and get it potted up. There is a possibility if the roots don't take, or if they are there but there's not enough, we may just have to leave this here till next spring. That's always a risk. You just never know exactly what's going to happen. But either way, we'll make an update video and follow up on this with you. But that is pretty much it. That's all there is to it. Again, kind of the takeaway points, the important ones. You want to sanitize your knife. You want to make sure it's good and clean before you cut on the tree. You want to make sure the tree you're cutting on is disease-free and healthy. Find a good spot, remove your bark, remove the cambium, put your powder on, wrap it in moss, wrap it in plastic, tie it off, and that's it. So let me kind of give you an up-close look here. Not that close. Okay, so you can see here what we've done. There's a pretty nice view of it there. Let me just show you a zoomed out view here. In a tight space. Forgive the shaking. So you can see this branch, like it just comes absolutely horizontal off here, like straight off to the side. This definitely needs removed. So all we're trying to do is remove it while also creating another tree in the process. And I do have to say, like, while we're at it, while we're doing this, look at the red. Like, look at the color. So this is Acer palmatum atropurpureum. Just like, I mean, this is your very basic, just red Japanese maple. Some people use these as rootstock. But look at this color. Like, it is unreal. Probably the brightest red, and we're halfway into July. This thing is in sun 24/7, and it just looks amazing. So if you don't have one of these, like, definitely consider it. Don't be fooled by a cultivar with a fancy name. They are not always better. But there you have it. There's our air layer. So I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I appreciate every single one of you that watch and comment, subscribe, and like and all that. I have a lot of fun doing this. I have even more fun sharing it with you guys. So please keep your comments and likes and views coming, and I'll keep making these. Until the next one, take care.